Alright, order of operations. Okay, order of operations. First thing we're going to do is solve our parentheses. 4 steps we learned in class. 1 minus 3 is negative 2 squared. Next step is you check for any exponents. Negative 2 squared would be negative 2 times negative 2, which is positive 4. Then the next step is multiplication and division. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. If we had addition or subtraction, we would do that last. But in this case we don't, so negative 4 is your answer. Okay, for the next example, we're going to start with parentheses. We've got 2 sets of parentheses. We can go ahead and solve them first. So for the first one, 6 plus 5 is 11. For the second one, when we have fractions, I like to go ahead and just change them all to fractions. 1 over 1 would be the same as 3 over 3. That way we already have our common denominators. And then I'm going to also take these negatives and move them up to the numerators while we solve it. And then you just look at the numerators as you would whole numbers. Negative 3 plus negative 1 is negative 4 over 3. Okay, now that we did the parentheses, we check for exponents. We don't have any, so we can go to multiplication and division. And since it's division of a fraction, we flip our fraction and multiply. And then 11 times 3 would be negative 33. 1 times 4 would be 4. And then you can just leave it as a improper fraction. Do not change it to mixed numbers. Okay, we're going to start with parentheses. And inside the parentheses we have an absolute value. Treat that like a grouping symbol and solve inside first. Don't change the sign until you've solved it. So negative 3 plus 5 is 2, which means we're looking for the absolute value of 2, which is 2. So that's 1 plus 2. And then we can finish solving in that parentheses. 1 plus 2 is 3. And that leaves us with our last step, which is negative 9 divided by 3, which is negative 3. Okay, once again we start with parentheses. In this first set we have 6 times negative 2, which is negative 12. Over here we have an absolute value of 10, which is 10 times 8, negative 8, which is negative 80. Okay, you can look at this and tell that 12 is not going to get a whole number when you try to divide it by 80. So instead of doing as a long division, write it like this. Negative 12 divided by negative 80. We've got 2 negatives. We can go ahead and cancel those. And then reduce it if you can. In this case, both of those can be divided by 4. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. 80 divided by 4 is 20. So 3 over 20 would be your final answer. Alright, for our last example, we do not have parentheses, so we can skip that. We have no exponent, so we can skip that. We do have a multiplication here. Negative 2 divided by 3. Again, 3 does not go into negative 2 evenly, so I'm going to change it to negative 2 over 3. And then minus the negative 1. Now all we have left is addition and subtraction. Double negative, double negative. So 1 over 3 plus 2 over 3, and I'm going to change this to plus 3 over 3. Then when we add our numerators, 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6 over 3, which can reduce to 2. Do make sure you reduce when you can.